Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Partnership Guys podcast. I'm Rob Stoker here with Todd Leonardis, Steven Schneider. Thankful for everybody for listening, commenting, sharing. Really appreciate it. We are on season 2, episode 11. And today we're talking about creating decision domains and having the ultimate partnership efficiency. And the core point is that most partnerships that we've seen slow down or don't accelerate the way that they want to be accelerating because everything requires their agreement, that everything needs to be discussed, that everything needs to be talked about together and hammered out together before any decisions are made. And most great partnerships move fast because they divide decision making early. And so I'm really excited to talk about this with you two because I've seen firsthand your partnership and decades of you both having the ultimate partnership trust. And I know a lot of it comes from your decision domains, that you both do different things. You stay in your lanes, but yet you support each other in every way. And it's just one thing that I've admired for so long about you two, your partnership, how you handle things, how you always stay positive, and how you always stay supportive with each other, even when things don't go the way you want it to go. It's, sometimes the other person it's in their decision domain, and the way that you both handle those things is admirable, but also why we're here and why we're helping so many great partnerships. So, let's start by, whichever one of you wants to start is, how do you stay in those lanes and decision domains? And even when things, don't go well in somebody's domain, how do you guys not only survive it, but thrive through it? And it's so clear that you do.
I mean, it's the most counterintuitive thing that we come across when we talk to people is when we talk about decision domains. Most partnerships, if they have a partnership agreement, will have something that says like any decision over X amount of dollars, we need to have, agreement on based on our percentage ownership and things like that. And that's all fine. But on an operational basis every day, if everybody is making every decision, that sounds super good because everybody's involved. But actually what it does is it creates friction. It creates a situation where you're constantly putting yourselves and putting the partnership in a situation where you're going to have conflict and you're going to have disagreement. And all that does is slow everything down and potentially cause real problems in the partnership. So for Todd and I, over the years, we each have our own areas of the business that we have control over. Now we understand that some decisions that I might make in one area of the business will affect areas of the business that Todd's more involved with and making decisions in. So we can't do these things in a vacuum, right? So that's why communication is so important. But the fact that, for example, I can make decisions on the sales and marketing side on my own, and Todd trusts me to make those decisions in our core business. And at the same time, Todd knows what those decisions are and what I'm doing. So that on the finance and legal side, he can be focused on making sure that we're set up to be able to support those decisions, and vice versa, has allowed us to grow the business exponentially faster and bigger than what we could have done if we were all sitting down and making decisions together on everything.
When we first started partnering, this wasn't the case. We were siloed. We were running almost 100% of completely different businesses when you really looked at it. And we realized we were starting to duplicate efforts, contradict efforts. And that was just, never mind the conflict, the discussions that it brought, but it just slowed everything down, because when two people are accountable, nobody's accountable, right? We're all responsible, but one person needs to be accountable, for, different sections of the businesses. It's, we see it a lot where it's almost every decision is based on a committee and shit just doesn't get done. And that's the whole reason why we're here, is to get stuff done. It's the whole reason why you're in a partnership, is to get more stuff done, right? We say partnerships give you more. They give you more money. They give you more time. They give you more flexibility. If you're not getting that, go solo.
Yeah, and that's in partnerships that function well. Like your partnership, so many partnerships I've had, it's unbelievable when it's functioning well and people are staying in their decision domain, supporting each other in those domains. The things that you can accomplish are endless together. I always say I don't know how people do it on their own with everything in your head and having to do everything, making every decision. For me, when I am in that position, I second guess everything I do. And when things don't work out, I second guess everything I'm doing in general. And so for you guys, specifically when things go wrong in one of your decision domains, what are best practices for how the other one of you supports that decision? That a lot of these decisions they're not easy decisions. They are hard, 51, 49, 52 could go either way, and it's making a decision. Sometimes those decisions turn out to be the wrong ones. And so in the bad partnership I had, when we would make bad decisions, it was almost a happiness from the other side that it went wrong. Of that, then now I got one. You did something wrong, and so that's now come with me or something that I did wrong, because I'm ready to tell you what you did wrong. How do you guys? It's hard. How do you guys?
Who wants to live in that world, by the way?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. But you understand. I know you understand how easy and how natural we are humans. We all have, egos. We all take things personally. We are all entrepreneurs who, are certain personalities. How do you two do it? That, like I said, not only do you get through those bad times, you thrive through them and learn from them together and do it all together. It's amazing.
I think it ultimately comes down to doing the work before the problem presents itself, is just making sure that we understand what the other person is doing and what the other partners are doing. And we work on the partnership to build that trust and respect, so that when something does happen, you are approaching that situation with a mindset of support, with a mindset of being helpful, and not a mindset of, ha ha ha, you screwed up, right? That doesn't do anybody any good. That doesn't solve the problem. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't times when something happened and I'll close my door for a second and punch the air because I can't believe that happened, but you get it out of your system. You realize that you've got to figure this out together, and then you just work the problem, right? It's not about the person. We're all just people. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. Right? There's no problems that we can't fix together, or at least that's what we believe. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what we believe, is we can do anything together. That's the power of a successful and a good partnership.
Yeah, we had a lot of ups and downs over the last 25 years where, the world is moving at a very different pace, or weird things were happening, and not every decision was great. Couldn't tell you who made them at this point. It doesn't matter. We talk in the book about making deposits into the bank account, right? With good behavior. Rob, what you're talking about, because we see it a lot, is people make those deposits with their partner's bad decisions or bad behavior, right? And what a tough way to go through life, right? Running a business is hard enough. I think we all know that. To have that, on your shoulders it's just brutal. Just brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I always say, my neighbor and I had a great business model, money flowing in, but it was just very quickly, we were only looking for what the other person was doing wrong. We weren't celebrating wins. We were celebrating losses. The writing was on the wall and the red flags were clearly there. I just didn't see them because the business was going so well. But so much of this is really hard. It's really hard for people to say, I screwed up. But it happened. We're running a business. These decisions are, like I said, are not easy. So how do you handle it and support each other when one of you screws up? I know in my great partnerships, we face it head on, and when I mess up, I'm the first one to say I messed up. And in my great partnerships, it's just getting the support back of, we're going to figure this out, and we're going to figure this out together. Just because you made that decision doesn't mean that you're the one that's responsible for handling the consequences. We're all going to handle this together. And in the bad partnership I had, like I said, there was almost a joy in the other one messing up. So how do you,
I mean, sometimes there is no great decision. Sometimes you're just picking the best of the worst, right? There's going to be ramifications. And if somebody's in that position, you're setting up for a tremendous amount of resentment and pain, right? Because sometimes there's just things that are out of your control, all right? And you're like, well, it's going to hurt no matter what we do. Let's try to minimize the pain, but there's going to be pain. And the way, we've done it, Stephen, over the last 25 years, and the way we're doing it here with TPGs, each partner does own a specific part of the business, and they have very clear authorities within those lanes, and input is absolutely sought after. To Stephen's point before, it's just because I have the final authority doesn't mean that taking into consideration your guys' opinions they don't matter. Of course they matter, because I'm not seeing everything that you're seeing, right? So it's really, like Stephen said, doing the work early so you can have these conversations. And over the last few years, I mean, to your point, like, the win is our win, the loss is our loss. Who made the decision doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is our new reality. How do we move forward? Listen, you don't want to keep making the same issues, same mistakes or decisions over and over if they're not yielding what you want. But that comes, over time, and just talking with your partner and communicating, and that vulnerability really comes into play too. Like, I really screwed this one up. How do I not do that again? Because we're very myopic, like, we're in our own worlds. And the huge benefit of partnerships is that you have more eyes on the same issue, right? And you can get different perspectives, whether it's your authority in the business or not. You do get these different perspectives, and once you put enough time in and really work on building that trust and respect, you say, you know what, it really doesn't matter whose decision that was, whose win that was, whose loss for that matter. It's really about what's best for the business and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the vulnerability thing is really important. Is you've got to get comfortable being vulnerable and admitting when you've got a difficult decision to make, and maybe you didn't make the right or the wrong decision. But in reality, when you look at things like right and wrong, that's ego talking, right? There are no absolutes in the world like that. When you need to make a decision or you need to deal with something in your area, your decision domain, you need to look at all the information you have and make the best decision that you possibly can. And sometimes, no matter what decision you make, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you resources. It's going to cost you time, right? And so it's recognizing that you can't come to your partner and say, you made the wrong decision, right? You got to recognize that they made the best decision given the information that they had, and maybe there's more information to get and they can change that decision, or you just move forward with whatever the consequences are. But you can't bring ego into the situation, into the decision-making process, because ego demands right and wrong. In reality, and in the real world, you just got to make the best decisions you can and recognize that your partners are doing that. They're coming to this with a mindset of, I want to do the best I can for my business partner and for the business itself. And that's all that you're doing.
Yeah. So, I think when it comes to decision domains, we've seen it when we're working with people. It's not just the mapping out all the areas of the business. It's important to do. That's an important start. It's not just the assigning ownership based on strengths, but it's really respecting the boundaries and not second guessing the other person. And it's also about constantly revisiting as the business evolves, so many changes as it grows, as we change as individuals. It's just a constant conversation. How do you guys have that always as a conversation of, it's just not just that 20 something years ago, you guys just had your decision domains. That was the end of it. And it's done. How do you work on it constantly, even though you've been in business for so long together?
And decision domains are not a fixed thing. Like, let's set our decision domains and then just move forward. Decision domains are a process. And a big part of that process is, number one, yes, understanding who has authority and responsibility in certain areas of the business. But the bigger part of that process is making sure that you have a method or a process to be able to communicate what you're doing within those decision domains, because the decisions that I'm making impact everybody else in the business. And if I try to do those in a silo and not communicate what I'm doing, eventually I'm going to start making bad decisions because I don't know what's going on elsewhere. And I don't know how what I'm doing is impacting everybody else. And so decision domains are a process. And that's what we help people do, is really sit down and not just figure out, okay, you're going to be doing the marketing and you're going to be doing the HR and you're going to be doing this and that. But it's about, okay, how often do you want to sit down and talk about the things you're doing? You know, how frequently do we need to have a conversation about the success of the marketing plan so that we can make sure that we've got the money available to be able to support the results from that plan and the business that's going to come in, you know, and those kinds of things. And so that's how we've learned over time, is that it's not just figuring out whose authority goes where. It's what do you do with that? And how do you make sure you communicate that? And that's how you prevent decision division, right? And you want to make sure that you're, even though I'm making the final decision in an area, I'm doing it with full awareness of how that's going to impact everybody else.
And
Yeah.
the other person might not be super psyched about it, but the decision was made to have these decision domains, and we live by it, because control really does feel safe, but it slows everything down. And what we like to think is Stephen's quote is, we don't divide titles, we do divide the decisions, right? Who's responsible for what. And it really just having the trust and respect, it does build when ownership is clear. So it's really important to do
ownership in decision domains.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because like you guys, the great partnerships, you're not going to agree on everything. You're not. What's the point of having a partnership when you agree on?
Yeah, you don't want to. Like, I need dissenting opinions. Absolutely.
And it helps us with everything, but it takes a high level of trust, respect, to do that, to trust each other, to make decisions, and then also to support each other when those decisions go well. And that one bad partnership I had, it was when a decision was made and it went wrong for both of us. It was only blaming the other one and saying that's why I should be doing that, instead of supporting. And that's, like I said, I just admire it so much about your partnership, is how you are not the same person. You don't agree on everything. You have different opinions about a lot of different things, but the trust level, the respect level is through the roof. And that is simply why you have a great partnership. It's not because you are on the same page, have the same opinions about everything. That's not what it is. Very different people, very different opinions. Just staying in your lane, supporting each other, and doing the best thing by each other and the business. And you guys do that so well. This is a great talk. Really, really love hearing you guys talk about your partnership and how you do things like constantly talk about these decision domains and so many other concepts that you guys have come up with over decades. Just proud to be a part of it, and proud to also be giving these concepts and implementing these concepts for other partnerships, because partnerships are just be amazing, and an amazing support level each other. It's just been so much fun with your concepts, to watch partners go from some of the people we're talking to. They don't have a bad partnership, but there are things that they can work on, and as they work on it, to see not only how the partnership thrives based on these concepts, but also how the business then thrives, has been a lot of fun to be a part of. So thank you guys. Thanks everybody for listening. You can listen on Spotify, watch us on YouTube, Apple Music. We'll be back, Apple Podcasts, and we'll be back next week. So thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you joining, liking, sharing, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Steve.